Okay, this game is Saemich versus Nimzowitsch, played in Copenhagen in 1923. Saemich, playing white, plays d4, probably not welcoming to play Nimzowitsch again. He had an overall terrible record against Aron Nimzowitsch, and this is a game which was labelled the Immortal Zugzwang game. So we're going to find out why. How did Saemich end up in a virtual Zugzwang? Nimzowitsch plays knight f6, and after c4, Nimzowitsch, he plays e6, so he's going to play his favourite pet line with bishop b4 if white plays knight c3. Saemich avoids this, he plays knight f3. So Nimzowitsch now, he's forced to play a queen's Indian defence. He plays b6, potentially to challenge white's fianchetto with bishop coming to b7. So the bishop comes to b7, so we have these fianchetto bishops opposite each other. Now bishop e7, knight c3, black castles now, white castles, and now black plays d5. So black's got quite a solid position, classical, occupying the centre, and white now plays knight e5, and Nimzowitsch reinforces his occupation of d5 simply by playing c6. Now here, I think modern players would try to keep the tension in the centre and play something like queen b3. Definitely not what white plays now, which not only releases the central tension, but it means that white's c4 square may be later used as an outpost by black. White plays c takes d5, which I think this position is kind of suspect. I think black's already better, because black can aim late for a6 and b5 as the game shows, and maybe even knight d7 to b6 to c4 later. This c file is going to favour black. So a6 is now played, and now white plays rook c1. Knight d7 is possible, but Nimzowitsch played b5 here. And black's already fine. White plays queen b3 now. Now Nimzowitsch plays a slightly dodgy move in knight c6, because it does give white a tactical opportunity, but he misses this opportunity. White plays knight c6 and bishop c6, but now he didn't play a simplifying move. He could have played a very tactical move here, knight e4. Let's have a quick look at this. If pawn takes e4, rook takes c6, so white will be sacrificing the d pawn. But the thing is, after rook d1, queen b4, bishop takes b4, white has the pressure here and could perhaps continue with bishop g5 with a very good game, or at least equal. In the game though, white didn't play this, he just played passively with h3, so Nimzowitsch protected his tactical liability, this bishop, just by playing queen d7. And now king h2, another passive move. This allows Nimzowitsch now to gain space on both sides of the board. First he plays knight h5 to drive this bishop away from its active role on this diagonal. So the bishop retreats passively. And now Nimzowitsch transposes in the kind of Dutch defence stonewall structure. He plays f5. Note though, there's also a threat on this side of the board with b4, so black is now gaining space on both sides of the board. The queen moves back, probably with a tactical reason, to try and play e4. But Nimzowitsch, after playing b4 to gain space on this side of the board, he then plays bishop b5, seemingly not worrying at the moment. e4 can't be played at the moment because of the rook, so white moves the rook. And now e4 is finally kind of threatened, attacking the knight. So does Nimzowitsch want to retreat this knight back? Well, no. He plays a surprise move now. He plays bishop d6, fully allowing white just to play e4 now, potentially with e5, winning a piece. If the knight had moved back to f6, then e5 would have been forking knight and bishop. But after e4 by white, Nimzowitsch plays a surprise move. Can you spot it? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He plays simply f takes e4. So he's sacrificing a whole piece for 2 pawns here. So queen takes h5, rook takes f2. So let's have a look at this. Black's central control is very good. These bishops are very nice, but there's also rook on the 7th rank. This bishop's very passive, and these pieces are also very passive. So even though black's only got 2 pawns for the piece, black's actually better here. It's just a classic case of pressure versus material. But it's very, very difficult for white to wriggle out of this pressure, to exploit the extra piece. White plays here queen g5, at least protecting that bishop on d2, preparing the queen to come back to e3. Nimzowitsch just calmly plays rook a f8. White now plays king h1, a passive move. Nimzowitsch just plays rook f5, so he forces the queen's retreat. So queen e3. And white is actually running out of useful moves. Black now strengthens the pressure on white's position by playing bishop d3. So this knight's not going anywhere in a hurry, and this rook's almost getting pinned down to this knight. And also, you know, white is just running out of options here. After rook c e1, Nimzowitsch actually just played another quiet, just waiting move. He plays h6. And white believed his position to be so bad now that he actually resigned. White's in a kind of virtual Zugzwang, where any other moves now, they're going to start losing material. So this is quite an incredible position. Just incredible. Let's see that if white tries to free himself. Let's have a look. If white had tried a3, so black just reinforces that b4 pawn to make sure the knight's not going to escape to c3 or a3. Now, what is white doing here? If bishop c1, then bishop takes b1. Let's say this rook can. Let's see, can this rook move to d1? If the rook moves to d1, then rook e2, winning material. Because, well, where's the queen going? The queen's trapped. So let's have a look here. The bishop can't retreat. The knight can't move. This rook can't move. Can this rook move? No, because the bishop takes f1. Can the king move to h2? Let's have a look at the king. King h2. There will be rook 5 to f3 here, because this bishop is helping focus on g3. And white's queen is trapped as well. So it's a disaster. Let's see, any pawn moves now. g4 say. Say there was g4, rook 5 f3 still, because if bishop takes f3, rook h2 mate. So this is a highly unpleasant position. h4. Here again, rook 5 f3, and again the queen is trapped or the rook h2 mate. So white is in a virtual Zugzwang here. Let's just look at finally b3. That's probably the best of the bunch, but still it's only temporary. Black can now increase the pressure with either perhaps queen b5 or even queen f7. Just queen f7 here. And what can white do here? White's again stuck. There's no moves now. If white does try and sacrifice this knight, let's say knight c3, then bc, bishop takes c3. And so black is now a pawn up here. But is it crushing? Well, it does look to be, because after rook c2, we're going to have 2 rooks coming down to the 7th row now. So say the bishop moves back to a1, very passive, locked in behind its own pawn. Then rook f to f2. And now white's in another Zugzwang. It's just ridiculous. Let's say rook c1, the rook moves to c1. Rook c e2, and white's queen is trapped. But here, we've just gone from one Zugzwang to another. g4 here. Here, again, there will be rook f3. The rooks work very well on the 7th row. So what can we learn from this game? I mean, it's incredible that the final position is a Zugzwang. Well, it does show the power of the rooks on the 7th row, and also the power of gaining space on both sides of the board. To such an extent, you know, if white's pieces are like on the 1st row, then there might be scope for just a positional sacrifice later on. So anyway, after h6, Saemich had just had enough and resigned this position. So you can see why, just every move seems to deteriorate. Excellently played game by Nimzowitsch. The Immortal Zugzwang game.